Hey everyone, I'm back in my kitchen and today is AI versus automation. One of my favorite subjects because of course we're building a lot of AI teams at FOMO.ai, but automation is how I make a lot of our business very, very efficient. So let's sort of talk about, for instance, what the difference is. I'll show you a real example that we have set up for a client. I'll show you two main platforms where you can do automations from and a couple of real automations that we use inside our own business. The other headline is we have a full team that this is all they do. And so if you use Zapier and Make, that I'll show you in a minute, and you want our team to design, build, manage, optimize your automations, let us know. So the way to think about this is we've all got AI on our minds now, otherwise you probably wouldn't be watching this video. AI is very good about thinking about something and making a decision. That is not automation. Automation is really just gluing some steps together and doing the same thing, right? It's more like the sort of factory, whereas the thinking has already happened before the factory goes through every step. Automation has actually been around for a lot longer than the AI. And the two main platforms we're going to talk about are Zapier and Make.com. But I think it's really helpful to have a visual example. Sorry, this is grayed out, but obviously I had to hide client details. This is a client called Hivecast.fm. They do sort of very high quality, affordable podcast production. This is a screenshot from their Slack. And let me explain to you what's going on here. This is an entire onboarding and customer success workflow that is happening sort of auto-magically behind the scenes. So Sarah, the CEO, she got this first message at the top here, which is, you've won a new client. Congratulations, fantastic. What used to happen with their services business is somebody would get the email, they might not be at their desk, they then need to go look up what this person got. They need to configure everything. And it might be later that day or the next day. And if it's a Friday, nothing until the Monday, before the new client really got to experience their service. The automations make all that go away. So what is happening here in her case is Sarah's technology stack is Chargebee happens to be where she takes payment. Yours could be Stripe, really could be almost anything at this point. Slack is her communications channel. You might use Microsoft Teams. ActiveCampaign is her CRM, like a MailChimp or a HubSpot. Google Forms, Google Drive, and ClickUp is her project management system. Could be Monday.com, could be anything, right? So, new client comes onto her site and signs up through Chargebee, chooses the podcast production services they want and any add-ons, etc. The automation sees that happened like instantly. And what it does is it goes and grabs all of the information from the transaction and it goes into her CRM and looks up any information she has, like sales notes or any existing notes that were already in there. And then it gets to work. So here's what it does. It first of all goes and adds all the new information back to that ActiveCampaign CRM. Then it goes into Google Drive and based on a series of templates starts creating the folder structure and copying in all of the template documents that particular client needs. So Google Drive now fully set up. Interestingly, at Hivecast, most of their folders for a client are private and they're used internally. One folder, which is where completed podcast episodes live, is public and it is shared to the client. So the automation also sets up the sharing permission of that folder and adds it to the ActiveCampaign CRM. It then goes off and goes into ClickUp, her project management system. And again, based on what the person bought, it now configures everything, right? It's using some templates in ClickUp. It is looking at resources of people. It is assigning the first steps to the right people, and it is putting dates in place, right? So you can imagine some of those first steps in her world might be design podcast cover art, right? And that should take 3 days and it's assigned so-and-so and then it goes into an automatic path. That's pretty cool. So now we have Google Drive ready for the client and the internal team configured. We have CRM all set up and up to date. There's nothing anybody needs to go in there. The project management system is now fully set up. And at this point, the client now gets an email a couple of minutes later welcoming them, saying, we've gone through the process, we are ready for you, right? This is your next step. And that's so important as a services business because they've now just reversed who the emphasis is on to do the next thing, right? It used to be on them as a services business. They had to do everything. Now it's immediately back on the client for them to take that next step. Internally, everybody gets Slack notifications like this, plus individual team members get assigned and notified what they need to go look at in the various places. And then Google Forms is how they receive new podcast episode submissions. And when they get a new submission, an entirely different set of automations run to grab all the video files, audio files, look at all the configuration, look up a bunch of stuff and start that editing process and assign it out to the human editors that she uses. So that's all in the top half of the screen. You will then see, so that happened at 3:23 p.m. The bottom half of the screen shows then at 3:41 p.m., so 18 minutes later, a second message saying, hey team, I've done it all for you, right? And there's a warning in there. If for any reason that doesn't show up, then they know to go check it. This automations now is at the point where, touch wood, in all the new clients she's onboarded in the last 12 months, this has not errored or failed once. And that's the second really important part about automations. Not only does it save you so much time, gives your customers a better experience, however, it also avoids errors, right? Teams make mistakes. They put the wrong name into Google Drive. ActiveCampaign or CRM doesn't get updated when it should, and so they get the wrong emails after they've signed up, right? They're still on the sales sequence. All those things can happen with human error. Somebody's off sick, somebody's on maternity leave, somebody's on paternity leave, whatever it might be, right? These things happen. Life happens. Automations, though, they don't care. They just get on with the work. And so you're really avoiding a lot of those errors. I love this one. This is one of my favorites. Some of you who've seen me talk from my kitchen before might have seen me talk about this slide before. And I'm going to briefly mention it again because it's very important before we look at these automation platforms. When AI and automation started, everybody assumed that it would really be the lower level jobs first that were automated, and then we'd sort of go up in intelligence. To a degree, that's true, but what's actually happening is it is the lowest level jobs and the highest level jobs, and it's all the stuff in the middle that AI struggles with, right? So you can actually get a CMO or CEO type strategy that is very good by using AI. And from the bottom, you can get a lot of output that is also very good. AI at the moment, unless you come use AI marketing teams like FOMO.ai's, you need automation to really glue those things together. And automation is really the doing layer that sits in between these two. So I thought that was sort of interesting to highlight for you. The two main platforms. Let's have a look. I need an incognito window so that I can show you Zapier. So this is Zapier or Zapier, British originally, you might be able to tell. So I always say Zapier, I'm not quite sure which it is. Probably here at Zapier. So you can come check this out, but essentially this is one of the two tools, there are many, but this is one of the two main tools that has already gone and built all the connections to all of your different systems, right? Your project management systems, your CRMs, they already have the connections, and I will show you what their UI looks like. But Zapier is the one that I originally learned on, and is probably still my favorite. The other one is Make.com, and we tend to build for our clients at FOMO, we tend to build nearly everything on Make.com. It's that little bit more bulletproof, it's that little bit more enterprise, and pricing is actually favorable in a lot of ways. When we build for you, we will build everything in your own accounts. We want you to have complete ownership of your automations. This is becoming part of your business infrastructure. So you would set up an account, it's about $30 a month on Make. And I think it's similar on Zapier, although it soon gets expensive on Zapier with usage. And we will log in and do all the work in your account. So if at any time you decide to not continue to work with us, you own all of your automations and your business processes. So this is sort of the two main platforms. Come have an explore and see what you think. Let me show you in Zapier what some of these UIs look like. So here's a simple one I have set up. It's just a 3-step automation. ActiveCampaign's my CRM. Slack is how we communicate with the team. This is what we sort of have as like a celebratory automation, right? Really great for team morale. So all that's happening here is in ActiveCampaign, an individual was added to a list. And at the moment, this list is the AI team's waitlist sign up, right? Where are we? We're on, oh, it's Halloween. 2024. So at the moment, our waitlist just opened to get access to our AI teams waitlist. So somebody comes in through any of our mechanisms to get on that form, and they end up on that list. Active Campaign then goes and finds the record of that person, great, and it comes and creates a nice Slack message saying another team's waitlist sign up, right? This just goes out to everybody in the team. And here is the contact email address. In this case, it's one of my test ones. In this case, there was no referral source. Send as a bot, yes, and I happen to send all of our automated messages internally as the magical ops bot, right? Just a bit of fun. You could call it whatever you want. And there's the icon for that bot, so it sort of looks nice and on brand, right? That is a nice, simple one that you could do. I'm going to edit this to show you how sort of simple this process is. So let's say in the Slack message, I didn't want everybody in the company to see the whole email address, right? What I'm just going to do is I'm going to come add a new step, and I'm going to say formatter, okay? Choose an event. I'm going to say, let's see, text, okay? And I am going to say the text I want to transform. First of all, we are going to say length. Is that the right one? Split text, truncate, okay? We're going to truncate. And the information I'm going to input, right, just comes from the step before, which is the person's email address. Here's mine, okay? And the maximum length we're going to say, let's say in this case is 7, right? And don't need to worry about the rest. We're going to say continue. And if I say test, what you will now see is a nice little test where this is the input, right? And this is the output. You can see it just took my email address and made it shorter, right? Nice and simple. And so now in the Slack message, if I wanted to, I could change this and I could say, I don't want you to show that whole email address. I want you to take that truncated version that we just made. Okay, there you go. You've just watched an automation sort of get finished and populated. That's pretty cool, right? And so it is quite simple. What I would say is as these become more complex, they become branching. We have some zaps in here that have, 30, 40, 50, 60 steps of branching decisions. They do also sometimes disconnect from their systems. They sometimes need editing, etc. So whilst I think it's great if you have these skills and you know how to do them, fantastic. If you really want to do it seriously for your business, use somebody like us to manage that process for you. It's really not an expensive service. So here's another example, similar in that it's using the CRM, but in this case we use Calendly for a sales call. And what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, Calendly, every time you get a meeting set up, it's on my calendar, right? Filter it for certain things. So I only want the meeting invite in this case for this automation that says learn more. It's my sales one. I send a quick note to Slack so the team see that. But then I go into the CRM and add that person. But in addition, I also go into the active campaign and create a deal in the CRM part, right, in the sales deal funnel part. So when I get on that sales call or the salesperson gets on that sales call who's been automatically assigned, the deal's already there. It has their name, it has any information we already have about them, what emails have they opened and read, etc. It's all there and ready to go. So that's automations. The place where AI comes in, back to our sort of slide here, is when you need the AI to do some thinking. So the AI, obviously, for those of you already working with FOMO.ai, lots of brands, then you already know how we use AI. Automation, right, is what I just showed you. It's all great sort of process stuff. The reason why we do both as a service is because those two worlds are coming crashing together. And I'll give you a great example. We currently work with a client who has 15 salespeople on the road. They have about 20,000 items that they sell, and it's to a lot of small retailers. They spend about 9,000 man-hours every year in putting those orders across those 15 salespeople, and we want to eliminate a lot of that headache, right? We want to make that more efficient. If all the orders were the same, you could imagine from what I just showed you, that's automation, right? Order comes in, do this, do this, do this, put it here, complete order, right? Really nice, simple automation. all the orders don't come in the same place, in the same way, etc. And so that's where the AI piece here has to come in, and you have to have give it some thinking, right? So in this case, the automation comes and grabs the order and feeds it some custom AI prompting we've built for this client that goes and extracts everything it needs to do. It takes unstructured data and it turns it into structured data. That's pretty wild. I would say the build of something like that is, it's less than a month or two. A couple of years ago, that probably would have been a couple of $100,000 6-month build, right? This is a service that's less than $1,000 a month. So the combination now of AI and automation is great. As always, come check out FOMO.ai. My name is Dax, co-founder, CEO at FOMO.ai. My email address is there. Ask questions if you're watching this on YouTube on the chat. I will jump in from time to time and respond to them. But best of luck.